Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
All right, and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm Joe Grumbine, your host, and today we have a very special brand new guest. Sherry Rhymes, the organic pet lady, is here with us, and she's got so much to talk about, a wealth of experience, and actually an event that we're going to be talking about. Sherry, welcome to the show. I'm glad you finally made it here.
Hey, Joe, if at first you don't succeed.
We just keep going, and as it is often the case, we're talking for a half an hour before we even get started. And I'm like, wow, we just lost an episode in all we were talking about, but it's all good. So I like to introduce our guests and sort of put a point of reference, and you bring a lot of perspective to this show. Again, this is a show about healthy living, mind, body, spirit, plant, vegetable, human, mineral. If you can be, I don't know about minerals, I don't know if they can be healthy, but they can help us be healthy. And you run a nonprofit group that is all about animals. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the work you're doing?
Thank you, Joe. It's really great to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Essentially, I'm a piece of work. it it started from a lot of experiences from childhood and young, in the teenage years and young adulthood, uh, and all of that, and ultimately at the end of my rock and roll movie business journey, I had been living in the rat race and fast lane for a long time, and I could see the end of the road coming. It was a brick wall, and I was just about to hit it and become one of those folks that LA chews up and spits out.
Well, they
And
say it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop at the end.
yeah, and it was coming fast. It was coming fast. You get caught up, when you work at the level that I was working at, there's certain requirements to go that fast. And and if you can't keep up, so you get your 15 minutes of fame, and if you don't grab onto it and keep riding the wave, you end up a casualty. So I had grown up with faith, uh, although it was a cult. I didn't know it at the time, but my nana, my dad's mom, listened to Moody radio in the house when Papa wasn't around, and he was in the priesthood, and he was a big deal in the Mormon church.
Okay.
And so I learned about Jesus when I was really young, and I really just fell in love with Jesus. Well, I after Nana died, I was 10. Things went down the proverbial toilet in the family, and I just couldn't. I wasn't seeing Jesus any in the family or anything like that, and eventually I fell away. So, but I still believed. So fast forward back to the wall coming. I started, I'd come home from the club at whatever time in the morning of working, and or whatever, lighting or whatever I was doing. And I had this little TV, and I started by accident watching some program called Faith 20. And I started realizing, man, maybe I need to get out of this. And well, so I got invited by this biker, and we went for this, after the club one night, and we went partying at his place, and I had no idea where we were. And he was a smart guy. He didn't have any mail laying out, so I had no address. I couldn't call like a car or anything. And I had learned this really cool survival trick: is drink somebody under the table so you don't have to have sex with them.
Okay.
It works.
All right. Fair enough.
So just to just for all you people out there that are hanging in the fast lane and you're a girl, or I don't know, I guess the guys too, but in my case, it was with a very hardcore biker. There were a lot of things involved. I just happened to outlast me passed out. So
Wow.
the sun was coming up. It was a Sunday morning, and I was in full leather, and I had, I had boots on. I mean, I looked, it's LA in the 90s, and
Sure.
I'm walking down the street and come across this yard sale, and somebody's got a table out, and people are driving by. It's 8:30 in the morning. I look like shit. I'm completely wasted, and there's this Bible on the table, and these church people are going to church, and they're staring at me as they're driving. I have no idea where I am, so I asked the gal, hey, how much do you want for this Bible? And she says, for you, it's free. Right.
Looks like you need it.
Yeah. I'm like, well, thanks, but I do need it. Can I ask you, where I am, and could I use your phone? And may I stay here until my ride comes for me? And she said, yeah. So that happened. And that was kind of like, I need to change. So yeah, because when, that wasn't working too well. I still have the raincoat that guy gave me for riding on a motorcycle. It's a really nice trench. I love it.
All right.
So anyhow, I was into the occult pretty hard at that point, and so my friend Alacia, she's really into crystals and stuff. She took me up on a mountain, and there was a spurt, like a stream, and to kind of de-escalate after what I'd just been through, because it was pretty rough. And we had our feet in this mountain stream, and I'd never really been out of North Hollywood. I was kind of a slave to my environment. People, it's Andrew. I'm gonna have to text him.
No worries.
Ringer off. Okay, so it was rough. It was crazy, but I'd never been, like I said, I'd been kind of like, girls don't get paid as much as boys in the industry,
right?
So I couldn't really afford to live on my own, and I was just kind of stuck. So I'd never been out in the beautiful parts of California. And so anyway, that was really cool. That really stood out. So after I kind of recovered, she got me back home, and I realized this was rough. So this one guy had been staring at me for about 4 years at the club, and I thought he was weird. And I walked in after getting out of the jacuzzi, and I'm like, on my night off at the club, and I'm like, hey, will someone talk to me about Jesus? And it's like, what's wrong with you? So my son's father hold on just a second. The Organic Pet Animal Sanctuary, please. Oh, I gotta tell, sorry folks, this is my son is picking up sponsorships for the event for next week.
Well, that's good. We'll talk about your event
in the middle of the podcast. I'd love you talk to you in a bit. There we go. Oh, and Andover will let you have the check. Thank you. Okay, so that's enough of that. So anyhow, yeah, thank you. So anyway, my son's father, that's really weird, because this was my son's father. It turned out to be the weird guy that had been staring at me for a long time. Really good drummer. They weren't a band that got signed, but their singer died.
Okay.
And they had a following in Europe. They were a progressive metal band. They were really good. And yeah, so anyway, Andy's like, I'll talk to you. So he got a beer. I got my Jack and Coke. We went and sat in the booth, and we were talking. And we went to his place, and I was naughty. And then he didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. Well, meantime, I was living in this really bad place where they were ripping people off. And I'm like, I can't stay here. So Andy calls me 2 weeks later, and I'm like, hey, I need to get out of here. And he's like, okay. So he came and got me. And then I found out that he had been a missionary in Mexico, and he had gone, he was a believer and born again. I'm like, what's that? And so anyway, I made him take me to church, and we went to this biker church, and
Okay.
I got saved.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that was great because I needed it, but it was tough coming out of it. And then 3 weeks later, I found out, guess what? I'm going to be a mom.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, so everything from that, I came home. I had the experience of working in a horse rescue during the time because I was trying to leave the industry. I'd working at a horse rescue, and I realized this I want to do. I want to do that. Helping horses that had been traumatized, that had people problems. I had people problems. I could relate, and I was working with a thoroughbred that just came, Sandy Joe brought in, and she's the toughest girl I ever met in my life. She's crazy tough. And I couldn't believe the opportunity that just arose from working with a horse. And she brought this thoroughbred in, and it was so crazy. Like you try to tie it to the hitching post, and it would literally go up in the air. You could not,
Wow.
and strike, like dangerous.
Wow.
Right. So you got this hopped up horse on a bunch of drugs and feed that you
All
can't
right.
tie. You can't tie, and it's really dangerous, right? And
Yeah.
I'm yeah, I want to help this animal, and but then I had found out I was pregnant while I was working there, and I'm like, I cannot stay in LA. I could only afford to live in the barrio, and people were like getting shot, in apartments, like
Right.
the apartment next door, domestic violence. You get shot while you're watching TV, it goes through the wall, right? So
Right.
yeah, this is no place for me, being a single mom. And I had problems with my family back here, but my mom relented. After 13 years, she allowed me to come home. So I suspect my papa took care of the fee, the flight to come back. The Mormon church flew me back home, and I was raising my boy by myself. And ultimately, the organization was born from learning to become an entrepreneur to raise my son. Childcare was terrible. He was getting abused. It was, how many times can that happen before it's irreversible? You get affected by these things, and other single moms are going through this dilemma every day, right? And dads too, And I just had to work for myself, and I started a treat company for dogs and cats called Holy what is it? Heavenly Horse Treats, and Heavenly Horse and Dog Treats. So I started that, and then Clinton decided he was going to do a welfare to work program, and I'd already been to massage school. I was already doing my welfare to work plan. I didn't need his, but all of the legislation, it was kind of ridiculous. So as things would have it, the guy who was the head of Job and Family Services was on the Lake County Fair Board, and he made an exception and allowed me to write a business plan and start my own business in order to fulfill the requirements in order to receive food stamps and medical.
Wow. That's awesome.
That was huge, right? So I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking,
Very, that, if that's not serendipitous, I don't know what would be.
it just never happens.
Right.
So that worked, and it became a research and development project. And then in 2005, because everybody was going into their kitchen and doing treats, and it was hard when you're vending. You have to be different in order to be able to do the big shows and
Right.
bigger
Something's got to
shows.
stand you apart. Right.
So I went organic special diet in January of 05 and changed the name to the Organic Pet.
Okay.
And at that time, I put together a team of people. So I had Dr. Neil Civula, who was an equine veterinarian as well as small animal. He specialized in alternative stuff like hydrotherapy for dogs and acupuncture and acupressure and hydrotherapy, just all these cool modalities, chiropractic. And then I had a nutritionist from Otterbein College, Dr. Lynn Taylor. I had Dr. Andreas Pappas, a biochemist that wrote The Vitamin E Factor, and a few other folks that joined the team because I didn't have $100,000 to go to school to become a doctor of nutrition.
Right. Not everybody does.
Yeah, or the time. I mean, I'm
Right.
a single parent and I've got this little business. So I really started with nothing. I started, turning food into treats.
Right.
And then, and we had a kitty named Diamond that passed, that needed medical care. So that it started with that, with Heavenly Horse and Dog Treats and a $60 tent we couldn't figure out how to put up at a county fair. So we grew it. And at the end, we sponsored the Merrill Lynch Hunter Jumper Classic, which benefits the Therapeutic Writing Center. We were a silver sponsor for that, and doing like a 2-week show at the polo field, and things were moving in the right direction. So I was, it's come from the animal nutrition. I'd also been riding and training horses and educating the public at a lake farm park and a volunteer group where we educated the public about animals, horses mainly, light and draft, horses as well. And so there was a lot going on there, and that really pushed Heavenly Horse and Dog Treats, and then the Organic Pet. And then in 2007, I took on a horse destined for the slaughter truck, and they'd starved him. And even though I didn't have anything, I prayed about it, and it happened at like lightning bolt confirmation. The horse, she found papers she didn't even know she had. The horse's name turned out to be Alleluia Prince. I mean,
wow.
I found a place I could board him if I worked for them. My friend and her friend, I used my girlfriend's trailer, my one girlfriend's trailer, and then the other girlfriend's truck, and we went and got him.
Wow.
It just grew, and I brought that horse from being suffering with rain rot, which if rain rot's really bad, it actually the hair falls off the horse.
Right.
And he's a purebred Arabian, Polish and Crabbit, and lines, really interesting. And Arabian horses really do have black skin under their hair. So that was interesting. He had mud fever, which is really bad for their feet. It like affects their hooves and their legs, the bottom, really badly. And he was at least 300 pounds underweight.
Wow.
And they had starved him because they had quarter horses, and they didn't like that he was, spirited. So,
right.
So they starved him so he'd be mellow. And
wow, that's horrible.
Yeah, it really was crazy. So it was just a fluke that he ended up coming to live with us. So I was making the Organic Pet products to support my son and I. And then I started doing Manna House, which was home baked goods to support him.
Okay.
And at the same time, I had a cat rescue sanctuary thing going on called Save the Kitties.
All right.
Yeah, because we lived in the country and people would just drop animals off, right? So I had my hands full. So I'm doing all this shit, right? And still, sorry about the language. Is this?
No, that's all good. It's a podcast. We can do what we want.
Oh, okay. So if a F-bomb flies, it's okay.
I don't have to bleep you at all.
Okay.
If it offends somebody,
I speak French.
Another episode. Most of these episodes are PG. Okay. And we actually, if somebody really wants to go deep and get raw, I have a subscription only section that if we wanted to go really raw, we can do it, but people have to subscribe to hear it. So
gotcha. Right.
You're on this side of it easily.
I'll try to behave.
You're fine.
So I had my son, he's growing up, he's involved in sports, right? So I'm volunteering at the farm park, and then Andrew's in school. So while he's at school, I'm at the farm park and doing all my own graphics and making all my own product. I mean, I was making each sheet was 130 heart-shaped cookies.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then I made liver brownies and I made granola bars for horses. And our
Nice.
products were like a supplement and a snack. And I had met some really great people. Uh, Dr. John Lyons, America's most trusted horseman. He was really cool. Hi, Nina. And then he turned me on to a gal who owned another company up in the Northeast who sourced micronutrients. And we were going to work together. And then I don't know what happened. But anyway, I was meeting some really big name people, and John and I became good friends. So it all kind of, here I am, I'm a single mom. I'm thinking, I wanted to do a horse rescue for troubled youth. Uh, Things as it being a single parent kind of changed the focus and the direction of the original goal.
Right.
So I wanted to create, an opportunity for single parents to start their own business, to be available to their children, and then to become a support group for each other when, if you had like a meeting, maybe another single mom could help, things like that. So
Sure.
it started changing as time went on. Well, there was illness. I started working part-time. I got sick from vaccines, really sick. And then I got attacked by a client. I won't go into it, but right now, because that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I have a feeling we've got a lot of episodes worth of content that we could jump into. Each of these little points we could get into. And I do want to fast forward a little bit to get to your event that you're going to be doing. And I think what we'll do is I want to jump to that so we can do this in one cut. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll have to split this into two.
No, not a problem.
It'll be harder to get it out before your event. So
yeah,
in the idea of, again, this podcast is that everybody gets to be a part of this community, and that it's an opportunity for people to both introduce themselves and their situation and their endeavors and their businesses or whatever their projects are, and give everybody a chance to share what's happening. But it's also a way that we can share our journey and the things that we've discovered along the way. But sometimes if we make an episode too long, generally even the most interesting guests, people only have this much attention that they're willing to give. So
real right.
Unless you're going to go and take your clothes off and jump around, I don't know that
you don't want to see that.
I'm not either. So
at least not right now.
I think we'll keep this to a reasonable. So
right.
Sorry, yes. Those are my dogs being barky.
Hi. Yeah. So okay.
Bonnie, cut it out.
Our fur kids, right?
Exactly.
So okay, so the Organic Pet Animal Sanctuary has grown from all of the previous stuff we talked about, and one of the programs is called Rock for Life, and it's an anti-suicide program, and it's dedicated to my brother who took his life the morning after our mother passed away, and also to my friend Teddy Days, who was my biker brother and hair guy, and this is a project that's never been more needed. It involves music and arts and all of that, but we need a farm. We need a farm to do this. It's a big project, and animals are involved, rescued horses or rehomed dogs and cats and livestock. We want a farm. We want a regenerative, sustainable farm is what we want. And
you are physically located?
We're currently in northeastern Ohio. I think it's a great location because we don't get the tornadoes. We don't have the floods, really. We don't have the hurricanes. We get remnants. We don't have major earthquakes. It's generally a very good area. Unless somebody offers something in a place where my body would be happier, like Arizona, Flagstaff, maybe. I love California, but they have terrible rules for animals, and I'll never never lived there.
Everything about business in California is horrible.
Yeah, when a state requires a 3-month-old puppy to have a rabies vaccine, they've lost their minds, so they can go
All
fuck
horrible
themselves.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no California, but I do love California. But Arizona sounds good if my body will be happier. But we're open, but this is the area we're doing things now. We can get started here. We're happy to consider somewhere else. I'm not completely closed off to that. I just don't like to be overly humid and get wiped out by tornadoes unless I could build underground, you know.
There you go.
Yeah, so what's happening is in March, of course, of 2020, everything got screwed due to the pandemic. We had a blues party planned where you dress up and, you know, blues night and fundraiser. That got canceled. And then Head East was going to play. We were going to do a 70s festival down in Cleveland because we're in between Cleveland and Erie.
Okay.
So we were going to do a 70s festival. And Head East, the drummer I went to school with. So Head East, the 70s band, Never Been Any Reason, and great band. And they are great live. They were going to do a show for us. And then I was going to do, like, you know, a festival of vendors and, you know, peace and let's have some fun, good music, food, bikes, whatever, cars. And that didn't happen either. So I got super sick and haven't been able to do much of anything except for take care of a feral colony, sort of. And we needed a fundraiser. So I met Steve Stoops, who's an incredible military canine, and he's just an unreal human being, and he's done a lot for our country. He's extremely decorated. Like, this guy, he sets up canine units for countries. He's very, very amazing, and he's humble.
Nice.
And we talked, and he asked me a lot of questions, and he said, I want to help you.
Nice.
And I was surprised and humbled, and I cried, and I couldn't believe it. And so we tried doing an event in November. That didn't pan out. Nobody, first of all, I'm not in dog sport. I don't have a dog in the game. Pedigree snobs, and I'm a woman. So this is how apparently it is, thanks to Burning River search and rescue friend Debbie Rosh explaining the situation.
Okay.
So Steve was like, okay, well, let's do it again. Let's do it again. So I'm like, okay. So we're doing it again. And we'd like to sell some tickets. I've got one sponsor, and we don't really mind if it's just me and Katrina from Grand River Canine.
Right.
Thank you, Katrina.
And Katrina.
And Steve. Yeah, she's cool. She wants to be a protege of his, and she's really about the dog. No egos. So, but we do want to sell some spots. It would really be great. I've got people donating. Willow Creek Springs, yay! And I'm a
Willow Creek Springs.
So buy something, would you? Got to support Gardens of Hope.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're doing that next weekend. So that's May 17th through 19th.
Okay.
You gotta buy your ticket ahead of time because we gotta know what we're doing. We gotta pay for his his travel, right?
Sure.
And we just barely have enough to cover his hotel. We can't get hotel comp, and he's gonna pay his own gas.
Nice.
Like, who does that?
I'm impressed with this guy, and that's again part of what I want this show to be able to do, is to support. You know, there's so many little nonprofits. You know, you're a 501c3. I've got a 501c3. People think, oh, wow, it must be some big institution. No, it means you got at least one person that cares enough to go out and do something that's really hard and complicated and expensive. And hopefully, and what you have is a magic bullet that says if somebody wants to donate and support it, you can give them a tax write-off. That's really what you have to offer, other than willing to take somebody else's resources and money and turn it into something that's worthwhile. Absolutely. And it's really important that these little nonprofits, you know, I'm not against any of the big ones. They started out little too, but when you see somebody, it's just like a small business, you know, somebody that's really trying and doing it, chances are there's one or two or maybe three people that are just busting their hump, trying to make it work, mostly working for free. Yeah. And, you know, I'm doing the same thing, carrying this stuff on my shoulders, and you try to make a living at the same time. But you just know that if you can just get the right people to see it and the right people to support it, all the good you can do, and everybody wins. And that's really what this is about. So what is the event's name? What is the title of the event?
Okay, well, it's Train with Steve Zane Stoops. And
Okay.
we have a special going right now. We won't make any money off this at all. And we won't. But it's $75 a day. And he's worth, he's worth way more than that. We dropped it down from the $399, which originally was $500 to train for 3 days
Yeah.
with this guy. You can teach your dog. Now, this isn't just for people that want a badass, you want to tune up your elite canine. This is also for anyone that's got a pet and they
Right.
want to have control over their pet, because say your pet, it's out of control and you go to court, you get sued in small claims. Guess what happens? Fluffy gets the needle.
Right. And it's your fault. Yeah.
Right. So training, you'll never see a canine in a court being sued in a court of
Right.
law for biting, because it just doesn't happen.
Right.
Okay. So that mindset from the AKC folks, and I love AKC folks. I got an AKC Shepherd right here.
Mhm.
It's just the mindset that if you teach a dog to bite, that's a bad thing. And it's bullshit, because dogs bite, and a dog under
That's how they
control.
talk. Yeah. That's how they play. It's how they do everything. They don't
Right.
have opposing thumbs. They got a mouth.
Right. So if you have control over that, then you can call it off in a situation. So
Right.
it's education. So Steve's coming. He's going to work with my puppy. She needs to learn how to control her. She doesn't want to stay. So it's called impulse control. So any
Nice.
behavioral management, to answer the question, behavioral tools, real life scenario. If you want to start working with your dog and teach it, we got enough crazy people coming over the border and
Right.
enough nutty neighbors. You better have a dog that can help you. Just a dog that if your dog doesn't know where or how or whatever, it's key to get training. And anybody that says they can't train with you because their decoy will be mad, that's an ego problem, and you're with the wrong trainer.
Right.
Steve is a great guy, and he's a veteran, and we want to help build his business. So everything that we're doing for this event not only helps the Organic Pet Animal Sanctuary program for Rock for Life, and the Farm Fund, and because I'm telling you, I personally am in so much debt just supporting this. We don't have donors. People don't give me money. I'm feeding animals, everything else. I mean, my gas is in disconnect. Come on, folks. So this is helping Katrina with her new business, Grand River Canine, who's an entrepreneur. We're helping the people that are donating, which are all small businesses. It's not the big ones that are giving us donations.
Really, it's always the little guys that help out the most. But
right, for the raffle, right? And if there's nobody here for the raffle, we're gonna do video. We're gonna make sure everybody knows what you gave. And we're going to either auction it on, social media. We're going to do something, but you're going to get a lot of visibility. And so, this is helping every single one, even the training center. Carolyn's like 90 years old. She can't train anymore. And, but she still has to keep the property taxes up on the house and the training center. So this is helping Carolyn, because she fell and she's old and she's, and so every single person, this is not about Sherry. This isn't about what a big deal I am, because I'm not a big deal. I am a person who's been through a lot, and I know that I can help. And it's just something I have to do while I'm here, because otherwise I'm a waste of space. And a UTI and kidney stones and terrible, debilitating pain has not kept me from getting this done with God's help. Thank you, Lord. But I can't believe I've gotten this far. So I'm going to do it. And and people, if you want to help yourself and your dog, and it's going to help Willow Creek Springs, because guess what? They're our sponsor. It's going to help Garden of Hope. It's going to help everybody. Help us out. But if you know anybody, with Ohio is going to be a little rainy, but it's not going to be bad. 70 degrees. Sunday it's supposed to be beautiful. And we need some help too, because it's all me. It's all me. I'm doing
fantastic. Well, Sherry, I'm gonna do my best to get this out here by tomorrow so that we can at least start talking about it. And
Thank you. I
then you
really
should be getting
appreciate
your
it.
package in the next day or two.
Woohoo!
And then once you get it, we can come back on and do a quick little Zoom like this where we can video and you can have that. We can both talk about it again. And that'll
Great.
be some content that we can share together and, let people know this is an important work, folks. And again, I think if you know about it, if you just come out and just meet this guy, meet Sherry, see the people, see the animals, that's how it all works. You may not see your connection to this, but sometimes just going out and being a part of it, just showing a little love, even just showing up can make all the difference. So Sherry, thank you for coming on the show today, and hopefully you'll be inspired to come back. It sounds like we got a lot to talk about and a
Sure.
lot of episodes that we could talk about. And I think, sharing our stories, sharing the things we have in common, sharing our journey to a healthy life, and creating a network and a community that we can all be a part of is all part of this. So thank you so much.
I
And
appreciate you. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you next time.
fantastic. All right, guys, Sherry, the organic pet lady, and
Later.
check out her bio for all the information about this event as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Look it up. It's TOPASEF. So it's TOPAS as in Sam, EF, which is the acronym for the Organic Pet Animal Sanctuary and Education Foundation. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.